And we begin in Sudan, where heavy fighting between the army and rival paramilitaries is continuing for a third day. Clashes have spread from the capital, Khartoum, with the military also battling the rapid support forces for control of Merowe and its international airport, as well as the country's main seaport, Port Sudan. The two sides were supposed to merge, but are locked in a power struggle. At least 97 people have been killed since fierce fighting began on Saturday. A brief ceasefire to help people caught up in the conflict brought little let-up in the violence.
A fighter jet over the skies of Khartoum. Plumes of thick smoke and the ominous rumble of gunfire signal that the conflict is spilling over into a third day. Sudan's army and the paramilitary group the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, have turned their guns on each other, just months after signing a deal to restore civilian rule. The violence has already seen scores of deaths and left the city's airport and top military buildings badly scarred. Concern is mounting internationally about what this violence means for the stability in Sudan and the region. Speaking on the sidelines of a G7 summit in Japan, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken called for a return to peace.
A strongly held view, again, across all of our partners on the need for an immediate ceasefire and a return to talks. Talks that were very promising in putting Sudan on the path to a full transition to civilian-led government. People in Sudan want the military back in the barracks. They want democracy. They want a civilian-led government. Sudan needs to return to that path.
The clashes are an eruption of a long-simmering power struggle between the army and the RSF, who first joined forces to oust former dictator Omar al-Bashir in 2019. Former Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok warned of straying from Sudan's current political path.
We have said goodbye to dictatorship forever. We can have reversal, we can have setbacks, but we will never be defeated.
The RSF and the army blame each other for starting the conflict, and both say they won't back down.
I'm now joined by Christine-Felice Röhrs, who is in Khartoum, where she works as country representative for Sudan with the Friedrich Ebert Foundation think tank. Christine, good morning to you. We're hearing that the fighting continues. What is the situation in the capital where you are this morning?
Good morning. The fighting is going into the third day now. During the night, at least in our area, it was calmer than last night, but the sound of artillery and then also aircraft overhead started again around 4 a.m. in the morning. We hear fighting in at least 2 areas around us, but from friends and colleagues and via social media, it seems that it is going on in more than these 2 places. This remains extremely worrying, of course, because this is still some sort of urban warfare with little regard to the lives of millions of civilians in this biggest city of the country. And the fighting is playing out in front of people's yards, in roads where kids go to school, on squares where people would shop, but nearly all of the normal life is halted at the moment.
Chrissy, we're hearing that both sides in the conflict are claiming to be in control of key points, the presidential palace, state TV, the airport, etc. Is it any clearer from inside the country about that?
Not at all. I mean, we are civilians as most people in the city, and we are holed up at home. We rely on kind of private intel being forwarded on phones or by text messages and WhatsApps. So you're trying to puzzle together the picture from this. But if you're looking at what the warring parties are putting out, this is mostly propaganda. It's about who has won what, and this is very often contradicted in the next minute by the other side.
The two generals responsible for the fighting, they blame each other, and neither of them, for starting this fighting, and neither of them have indicated that they're willing to hold talks. Could this escalate further, Christine, and perhaps even spill over into other countries in the region?
There are strong concerns, and we have been seeing, of course, messaging from regional leaders, international leaders, also local leaders who are trying to mediate. There is a prospect of that. There's also a prospect that this might inflame more groups here in the country. This is a multi-ethnic society. It's politically multi-polarity here. So at this point, some may say we already got a civil war. Others are saying it may become one when more stakeholders are entering the conflict. So there's a lot of mediation attempts going on behind the scenes, trying to activate civil society and others to diffuse hardline rhetoric and to prevent more groups taking sides and feeling obliged to start the fight, to take up the fight.
All right, that's Christine-Felice Röhrs, the country representative for Sudan with the Friedrich Ebert Foundation think tank. She's talking to us from Khartoum. We appreciate that. Thank you, Christine.
Welcome.